Welcome to It's a Snap. Save time, save money, eat healthy podcast. We help people discover small changes in food and activity choices that make a big difference in their overall health across a lifetime. And here's your host, Senior Snap Ed nutritionist Wanda Collins.
Welcome to It's a Snap. Save time, save money, eat healthy podcast. I'm Wanda Collins, Senior Snap Ed nutritionist in the North Country region. My guest today is Christine Demeter, SNAP Ed nutritionist from St. Lawrence County. Today's topic, energy balance. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you for having me today, Wanda. I'm really excited for this topic we're going to talk about.
Well, I'm interested in this topic as well, and I initially thought it had something to do with saving energy from an energy-saving stove, but I guess I'm not quite where it's supposed to be. So what is energy balance?
Well, we love to save energy in areas where we can, but today, energy balance, we're really going to focus on consuming foods with good quality nutrients that are going to give our body essentially the nutrients that we need to be as productive as we can to get through our days.
Okay, so now this is interesting because I thought we got calories from food, not energy from food.
Well, you're kind of going somewhere. So our bodies need calories. Calories are literally just energy points our bodies need to literally just sit here and focus on a podcast or do our jobs at school, do our jobs at work. Our bodies need these calories just to get through our life and our days.
Oh, so how do I know how many calories or how much food energy I need in a day?
That's a really good question, and everybody is different with how many calories they need. And that's really going to depend on their age, their gender, and their activity level. The Dietary Guidelines for Americans recommends that the standard 2,000 calorie for adults is a healthy diet or a healthy eating pattern, I like to say. But again, that's really going to depend on several factors. Young children typically consume less calories, given, that their body is smaller, but there are instances where they could need more depending upon their height and their weight and how active they are daily, where older adults who may be a little more sedentary and consuming less food, they might benefit from eating less than 2,000 calories. But it's really going to recommend on your age and gender again, and it's really, really, really recommended to always follow the advice from healthcare providers.
I see. And you said something that spiked my curiosity. What do you mean by a healthy eating pattern?
So a healthy eating pattern, you really, really want to focus more on getting foods that have, nutrients in our 5 food groups. So the My Plate, think of your fruits, your vegetables, your grains, your dairy, and your protein. If you can focus on getting all 5 of those food groups in as often as you can, that's really going to give your body the nutrients that it needs to develop and sustain that healthy eating pattern. The word diet works too, but I feel like a healthy eating pattern makes it a little easier to sustain lifelong as opposed to saying, this is my diet,
Yeah, I do. Actually, I was just thinking if you told me it was a diet, I'd be like, failed there. But by thinking of it as a healthy eating pattern, I think that makes a lot more sense. So I really like that term. Now, I'm just trying to grasp what you're saying here about these calories. It's, if I understand you right, it's saying that energy balance is balancing the energy I take in, that is calories, but what am I balancing that food energy with?
Well, you got to go get on a piece of wood and do a balancing act. No, I'm just kidding. Eating healthy and being physically active are the building blocks towards a healthier lifestyle. And consuming the appropriate amount of nutrient-dense calories and incorporating some physical activity or exercise or working out, whatever you want to call moving your body into your life, is a great way to be in energy balance.
Oh, now something else you said that really sparks my interest is nutrient-dense calories. And you were talking about My Plate before, and I'm thinking that there must be some way I get these nutrient-dense calories. Are there any little phrases or something you can help me out with?
So, yeah. When it comes to calories, we can get calories from really anything that we eat. But when it comes to energy, I know sometimes when I eat certain foods, I don't have the best energy after. Maybe I had a birthday party I went to and I had too much pizza and maybe ice cream was served for dessert. My energy at the end of that day, I'm probably going to go for a nap. But say I packed a really good lunch for my day at the office. I had an apple and some whole grain bread with some lean turkey. I then had the rest of the energy that I needed to go about my work day. And I usually can get through without the 2 o'clock yawns, but it really depends. You always want to focus when it comes to nutrients for your body. Put foods into your body that's going to make you feel good and give you the energy you need. And I'm not just saying like, don't eat your pizza, don't eat your ice cream, but kind of choose how often you're going to eat them and really focus on nutrient-dense foods most of the time in your life.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I love my pizza and I love my ice cream, but you're right. If I eat too much, I feel like a nap afterwards. It's kind of like Thanksgiving. You eat too much and then you just want to take a nap. So
Right?
it is, isn't it? So I balance the energy I take in with the energy I put out. That's what you're telling me, right?
Yes. So it's important to focus on consuming a healthy eating pattern over time. We want to avoid that word diet, a healthy eating pattern. We want to sustain all these changes that we're making. And small changes take time. We're human, but they really make a big difference. All foods and beverages consumed in a healthy eating pattern should fit together like a puzzle and meet your nutritional needs without ever exceeding your limits. And listen to your body, but really always follow the advice from your healthcare provider, first and foremost, at any age before you make any of these changes.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't want to just run out there if I haven't been busy and just run out there and do something and end up in the hospital or with a broken leg or torn muscle or something. So yeah, following your healthcare provider's advice, I think is probably the best way to start. And I'm thinking about, you said that all the foods and beverages we consume is part of that healthy eating pattern. And it occurs to me that, I don't always think of that. I have to say that. I don't always think that everything I eat and drink has any impact on my life. I just think, oh, I'll only eat one slice of pizza instead of half a pizza without really thinking about the fact that maybe that soda I'm drinking is not as good. So that's really a good point that foods and beverages we consume are part of that healthy eating pattern. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
So how do I know how many calories are in the food I eat? Because I know that sometimes I open up a bottle of soda or maybe I just grab a bag of donuts, those little donut hole things you can buy. I'm just eating them. How do I know how many calories are in it?
That's a really good question. So another tip I would recommend is looking at a nutrition facts label, especially the serving size. Do you look at nutrition facts labels?
Actually, I don't think I have looked at them very closely. I kind of glance at them, and I figure if it says calories 100, I must be okay.
Yeah, well, we're talking about calories, and I'm glad we're talking about this today because you're not alone with those thoughts. And it can be a little intimidating for some, to see all those words and those numbers, and then maybe you're in a rush at the grocery store too. But I would recommend for those that are looking for tips when it comes to breaking down nutrition facts label to check out our SNAP Ed classes. We could speak all day today on our podcast about nutrition facts labels. But unfortunately, we don't have the time today. But in our SNAP Ed classes, in person and virtually, we break down the nutrition facts labels together to find food choices that can give our body that right energy and the nutrients that we need.
If you were going to give maybe 2 or 3 tips, what are maybe 3 things I should look at on the label before I just decide 100 calories sounds good?
That's a really good question. So personally, when it comes to the calories, if I'm going to find something that's going to be high in calories, I want to make sure it has something really, really good in it for me. So maybe it has lots of fiber, has very little sugars, and it's got lots of vitamins and minerals. But if I'm just starting out and I'm looking at a nutrition facts label, I would definitely start with choosing products that have very little to no sodium, and sodium is salt, and we want to limit salt when we can. And I would also choose to limit my saturated fat, that unhealthy fat, as well as my added sugar. Because if we're having an eating pattern high in all 3 of those things, typically we can start to see some negative health effects over time, like diabetes, hypertension, heart disease. So if I can do something for my present self and simply just look at a label and try to avoid the sodium, the added sugar, and the saturated fat when I can, then I know I'm on my way to making healthy eating a little easier and getting good energy from those products I purchase.
So what I'm hearing you say is really look at the label.
Really look at that label.
Yeah, don't just assume you know. So I just want to spend a few more minutes maybe on this label. Now, you said something about the serving size earlier. Why is the serving size so important when I'm looking at a label? Because isn't what's on there just what I'm going to eat?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I kind of breezed over that one. Yeah, so serving size, all the numbers and words that you see on that package for that nutrition facts label is for the serving size. So if you take a bag of chips to the couch with you and you didn't look at the label, but you say, oh, okay, I saw 100 calories, that's just for this bag. Well, if it's a bag, like those big bags in the grocery store, there's typically maybe, I'm just guessing, maybe at least 6 servings, but you ate all of that. So all that information that you saw on that label, you multiply all of that by 6, or how many servings are in the actual package.
Wow, I would not have thought that. So if I look at the serving size and it says whatever it says, I can only eat that much to get what's on the label.
Yep.
Wow. So is that serving size based on, you mentioned MyPlate before, is it based on MyPlate or is it based on other things?
It's based on the MyPlate. It's based on nutritional needs. So you'll see numbers and the percentages next to it. So it'll say like sodium, and then it'll say like 66% or whatever the percentage is. That's going to go by your daily values worth. So if you consumed a package of chips and that met 66% of your daily value of salt, you have another 34% of salt intake to meet the recommended amount for salt that day.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does. I can see that. So I should, just to kind of recap with this label, because you're right, we probably could talk forever about the label, because maybe we'll do that again sometime. But I should always look at the serving size, and everything on that label is based on the serving size. So instead of just going right to calories and thinking it's 100, I should look at the serving size just in case if I eat the whole thing, it's 6. So then instead of getting 100 calories, I'm getting 600 calories.
You got it. Yep.
Wow.
And then again, to limit that salt and that saturated fat and that sugar when you can.
So, this is really interesting because I'm thinking about what we've been talking about, that calories are the food energy in the food, right? So if that is the way that is, instead of doing like a short walk, thinking I'm getting rid of 100 calories, I'd have to do a much longer walk. So so I'm thinking about, I've just taken in more food energy than I realize.
Yeah, exactly. You want to find that right balance with what works for you. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to start reading labels more. This was very interesting. And I'm glad we're talking about food energy, because I'm trying to myself balance how much I take in with how much I do. And now I know I need to actually think about food as energy and getting the right kind of energy.
Exactly. That's it. You just want to make sure you're putting foods into your body that make you feel good, do the things that you want to do. And that's what it's all about for me. I want to fuel my body with things that make me feel good, so then I can go about my day and feel good about it, and then rest well and do it all over again tomorrow.
That sounds awesome. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to let our listeners know, if you would like to make small changes that can make a big difference, find recipes, or find a New York State SNAP-Ed office near you, visit our website, snapedny.org. That's snapedny.org. And you can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Now, let me just sum up what we've shared with so far, that energy balance is making sure the calories or the energy I eat equals the energy I expend during activity. And I can find out what I should be eating by going to the dietary guidelines. And is that something I can find online?
Yeah, absolutely. The Dietary Guidelines for Americans, we actually have a new version out of it. I shouldn't say we. I reference the Dietary Guidelines in my everyday life, but you can definitely find that right online.
Okay. And then when I go there, I can find out how much food energy or how many calories I am supposed to be eating. And the nutrition facts label can help me out with that as well. So I don't have to do all of this at one time, I hope, because I can make a few small changes over time. I think you said that. So
Yes,
true.
absolutely.
Okay. So is there anything else that can make my body get out of balance?
Oh, yeah, there are a few factors. Another great tip that I like to share is eating in appropriate portions. Adults and parents should try to provide the appropriate portions for themselves and their children. You know, we don't want to undereat and we don't want to overeat because that can really make it a challenge to be in energy balance if we're over consuming or under consuming. So eat when you're hungry, but try to choose foods that are going to fuel you and give you that energy. Take, for instance, a bag of trail mix versus the same size bag of potato chips. Maybe you're even watching your favorite movie or TV show while you're eating one of them. I'll be honest, I sometimes do that. But first, we should try not to take the whole bag to our screen time location. Very first thing, you never want to take the whole bag of chips to where you're going to sit. To avoid overeating, but most importantly, which do you think is going to give you more energy? That way you can maybe go for a walk after you're done eating. Do you think you're going to have more energy after you eat the trail mix or that bag of chips?
Boy, that's a really good question. I'm going to guess the trail mix because chips are used to be potatoes.
Yeah, you're very right on that. The trail mix, it might be higher in calories than the potato chips, but we don't really want to focus too much on the calorie number, but think about the nutrients you're going to get from that trail mix versus those potato chips that no longer count as a vegetable. Because the potato chips, they're more processed, and they're going to be higher in that saturated fat and that added sugar, which, if overconsumed, can definitely add up quickly, whereas that trail mix is going to give you a source of protein from the nuts and the seeds. And if there's fruit in the mix, maybe you're even going to get a serving of dried fruit, thus giving you the energy to be able to get up from that screen time and burn a little energy, whether that's maybe going to do the dreaded dishes or you're going to go join your family outside to play catch.
I just have to throw this out there, okay? You must be watching in my house when you say the dreaded dishes. I'm just saying.
You're not alone. You're not alone, but they must get done. So I try to make the best of it. Walk in place when I feel like I'm getting a little antsy. Put on some music. And if that counts as me burning some energy, win-win. Clean kitchen, and I get to be in energy balance.
And I just have to jump in here for just a second. You mentioned all the stuff you get from a trail mix. Would that be considered a nutrient-dense food?
Absolutely. Do you enjoy trail mix?
I do. I like to make my own granola, and then I throw in some nuts and I like dates better than raisins, so I throw dates in there. And so
that sounds good.
Yeah, I just didn't think about it being a nutrient-dense food, but I after you saying that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and it's definitely going to keep you full, and we like to feel full. That way we know we got the energy that we need. Because sometimes when I eat potato chips, if that whole bag is close by, I'm going to continue eating it because I'm pretty much not getting any nutrients at that point. I'm eating empty calories. It's not filling me up, so I'm more apt to eat them. Whereas I eat a trail mix that's got a lot of protein and fiber in it, I'm going to feel full and I have energy. So we really, really want to go for that when we're looking for nutrient-dense foods.
Wow. Thank you for that. So what else would you like to share with us?
Oh, I would really like to talk about my college experience. So I had this roommate. She loved peanut butter and apples. She'd pretty much eat it for every snack. It's one of my favorite snacks to this day because she got me into it. And we were also on a budget in college, being college students. But she always chose to eat that for every snack, every meal. And it kind of made me a little questionable, especially now during this time when I've come so passionate about energy balance. I loved that she was eating a balanced snack with two food groups, with apple being the whole fruit and protein. The peanut butter is the protein. But she was on the swim team at our school, and she was always going to the gym, too, to work out her muscles for swim meets. And she'd be there for probably like at least 2 hours a day. But it dawned on me at one point, sure, she's eating healthy foods. She's got her apple, very fibrous, and then she's eating her protein, and she's very active. So good for her. She's eating good things, and she's moving her body a lot. But was she consuming enough energy that her body needed to replenish after working so hard? What are your thoughts on that story?
Well, I have to say that is a really good question. I mean, on the surface, it looks like it. She's got apples, she's got peanut butter, and both of those are really good for you. But when you think about it and you think how that trail mix had a bunch of stuff in it, I I'm really not sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fair. She definitely was consuming something healthy. But think about, I said she literally would work out for at least 2 hours a day. The girl would always be gone at the gym or in the pool. Um, but she wasn't eating enough calories that her body needed to replenish after burning so much energy. So really, she was not in the best energy balance. She had a
Ah,
goal to gain more muscle. And I mean, I love that for her. She wanted to be as strong as she can, but she didn't realize that how she was fueling her body with little calories made it a challenge to meet her goal. So, along with eating a healthy diet and being physically active, reaching and maintaining a healthy weight is important for overall health and well being. So, consuming fewer calories than expended will result in weight loss, and this can be achieved over time by eating fewer calories, being more physically active, or best of all, a combination of the two. Because not only is eating healthy part of a healthy lifestyle, but so is being physically active.
I see. Well, I hadn't thought about how much activity she was doing, but that brings me to another point. We've talked about energy in, and if the energy out is physical activity, how much should someone be physically active?
Another great question. So, it's recommended by the guidelines for Americans for adults to be moderately active for at least 2.5 hours each week. And I know that can sound a lot, but if you break that up, that's about 30 minutes, 5 days a week. And that can be broken up into however increments you need to get done with your day. So whether that's going for a walk on a lunch break, doing some gardening, or dancing, 30 minutes of your day dedicated to bettering you doesn't seem too much of a challenge. But that's for adults. And when it comes to children, if you have young children in your life or listeners, you really want to focus on having them be physically active for at least 60 minutes a day. And playtime, sports activities, and their gym class are really great ways for them to meet their goal.
So, what you're saying is this 30 minutes a day can be spread out throughout the day. I don't have to plan specific 30 minutes for it. Am I right?
You are correct. I mean, if you want to, if you had 30 minutes dedicated to your day where you knew you weren't going to be interrupted and get your physical activity in, go for it. But if you know you have a busy day with everything that comes with life, if you can just get 10-minute increments in, because that works for your schedule, that is better than nothing. Again, we're focusing on those small changes because those are really going to make a big difference.
Okay. So, I'm also wondering about, as I'm thinking about this 30 minutes a day, does it matter how hard I'm working out, or can it just be a super easy 30 minutes?
Well, that's a really good question. If you're just starting out in being more physically active and you've really never done it before, listen to your body and do what feels comfortable, but it's also good to challenge yourself. You really want to work your heart muscle with aerobic activities, and you also want to do muscle strengthening activities because we want to work our muscles, especially our heart muscle. Our heart is the hardest working muscle in our body. It's working right now, just us talking on a podcast. But if we're going to strengthen that heart muscle with some physical activity and those aerobic activities, so activities that get your heart rate going a little more, that's really going to be beneficial for your overall body because your heart can do a good job at doing its job. And then with muscle strengthening activities, you don't want to go 0 to 100 in one day where you decide you're going to go squat 100 pounds 100 times in one day.
No, I'm not. No.
No, you're doing that either. But you want to listen to your body. Again, follow the advice from your healthcare provider as well. But start out with what feels good for you, where you know you're not going to hurt yourself, but you also know you're working muscle groups in your body. That's going to help you in the future and presently.
Okay. Well, that sounds really good. And I just really have to say, 30 minutes sounds like a lot. And is it really so important to be physically active?
There's so many benefits, Wanda. Long term, it's going to help us fight our risk for developing many diseases or conditions like high blood pressure, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, stroke, and even some forms of cancer.
No way. Really?
Yes, no way.
Wow. Oh,
It's really benefit. And a lot of us don't think, I can't say that. Some maybe choose not to think super futuristic like that. I know I personally do. I'm only here on this planet with one body. I want to take care of it as much as I can with my eating pattern and my physical activity. So if I can prevent those diseases and feel good, you definitely bet I'm going to do that. And I know 30 minutes might sound like it's a lot, but it's important for preventing those diseases. But you're really also going to see some immediate results. And I know that can be beneficial for people who want to continue their journey with physical activity. I love that it helps me sleep better. And all around, it really helps me feel better emotionally and mentally. On days when I feel more stressed than usual, I grab my dog and I go for a walk down by the river, and I immediately feel better after.
Wow, that sounds like it's a really good plan. So it really doesn't have to be too awfully complicated, right? I don't have to get a gym membership. I don't have to do any of those things. So is there something you'd like to say to kind of sum up everything we've talked about today?
Yeah, definitely. So energy balance. When it comes to energy balance, if you're going to fuel your body with good foods, you're going to feel really good after. And another key component that helps us feel good presently and in the future is getting that physical activity in. And I know you mentioned it sounds like a lot, but I promise you, if you can dedicate to 10 minutes in the morning to maybe some stretching or a brief walk, and then find another 20 minutes maybe on a lunch break for another walk, get a coworker involved, all around, you're going to feel like you have energy to take on your day and be a more productive person in society. And even if you can share these tips with young people in your life, I know at my age, when I was in elementary school, middle school, and high school, I wasn't really focused on energy. I was focused a little more on, how I was looking and all that. But I realized energy is really going to come within and what I'm doing to get that energy. So my best advice for you for energy balance is focus on the 5 food groups, make half your plate fruits and vegetables, read the nutrition facts labels when you can, practice reading them, sign up for our classes, and try to dedicate 30 minutes to your day of getting that physical activity in to better you.
Well, thank you, Christine. I know you've motivated me, and I love learning all this new stuff. So thank you. Thank you very much for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome talking with you. You asked me some fun questions.
Well, I hope our listeners take it to heart as well. So listeners, remember to visit our website, snapedny.org, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Thank you for joining us today. We know the healthy choice isn't always the easiest choice, but small changes can make a big difference. Start today by getting involved with SNAP-Ed New York. The program is free for those who qualify or receive SNAP benefits. We want to help you save time, save money, and eat healthy. Learn how SNAP-Ed can make a difference in your life. For more information and to find your local program, visit snapedny.org. This material was funded by USDA's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP. This institution is an equal opportunity provider.